Hello, my name is Maggie Rescilli, and this is my report on my microcosm experiment. I used this storm drain / pond thing near my apartment to collect my materials. You can see that's one of my assistants, Bosco, scoping the area for some cool specimens. Overview. During this experiment, the objective was to observe the dynamics within a closed system. The control, named Morty, only contained materials collected from the pond, and the experiment, Rick, contained pond materials and was supplemented with crushed eggshells. For my hypothesis, I believed that the Rick microcosm would be the only one still active and alive after 7 weeks because of the supplementation of calcium carbonate from the eggshells. I thought that because the calcium was strengthening plant cells, they would have an advantage while the plant life in the control, Morty, would die off. Here I used 2 identical mason jars from a set. You can see the eggshells were placed in only one. At this time, I didn't see anything moving around in the pond to add to my jars, so I just went with mud, water, and these long weed plants that were floating in there. Here you can see the microcosms after a few hours. And they're still pretty cloudy and have like a brown tint to the water. I ended up moving them to this different table, the dining table on my balcony, so they can get more constant light throughout the day. And here for observations, basically through, and we'll see in the next few slides how it changed, but there was significant algae growth in both microcosms. The pondweed stayed alive, and the eggshells kind of were dissolving over time, but they didn't fully dissolve within the 7 weeks. Here you see the first 2 weeks of the experiment. Now this was interesting, and I wasn't really sure what to make of Rick, the one with the blue lid, being kind of cloudier. And you can see Morty with the green lid. Looked kind of like it was going to stay how it was and maybe eventually die off because I wasn't seeing as much activity. Here in the next couple weeks, I started to notice that the algae growth was picking up in both of them. You can really see it in March 6th. You can see that Morty on the right appears to be more vibrant colored as well. Like there's more green going on. In these next 2 weeks, you can see that the algae continued to spread and take over in both jars until on the 20th, they look completely green. It's almost impossible to see through, except on Morty, the green lid on the right, for the 20th, you can kind of see the plant right up against the glass, but you can see still it's green and everything's alive in there. And finally, March 25th, I brought them inside so I can get a better look at them with different lighting. There's a lot of glare outside, and it was really hard to get a look. You can see that they both show the same amount of algae growth, and that the water in both of them, when you look closely, it kind of almost looks like a jelly because it's so stringy with the algae. The pondweed, both jars, it's alive. The leaves are green, looks happy. The sediment, you can see, is much higher, well, than it was to start with. And if you look down to the right, Morty sediment, there appears to be something like a little sprout forming in there, which is pretty cool. And in Rick's sediment, you can kind of see the eggshells that haven't dissolved completely, and you notice There's like this orange color. I also found some little white masses that looked like there could possibly be sprouts in there as well. Um, okay, so this is really exciting. I brought these into my office so I can kind of look at them while I'm working on this PowerPoint. And the late afternoon sun's shining through and they're glowing and it's beautiful. And I noticed something weird that wasn't a plant. I hadn't seen it before. And it's like some little wiggling worm. Let me see if I can play this video. Yeah, look at it go. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then also Morty actually had one as well. You can see in this video. I was going that afternoon, I was gonna go dump these back into the pond when I was walking my dog, but I forgot about it, and I'm glad I did because I wouldn't have seen this. I this whole time thought I had just plants in here, nothing else, and you know, day before this is due, I find little worms. Um, yeah, so here you can see major findings. My results were unexpected. I really didn't think the microcosms were going to do well, either of them. I didn't see how they would. I thought maybe I had too much plant in there. I thought they were just going to kind of not do so well. My hypothesis was that Rick would do better because of the eggshells. But I believe my hypothesis was wrong because they both did equally well. I don't really see a difference other than Rick having a little bit more sediment at the end and having those orange spots. But otherwise, they both not only survived the 7 weeks, but had like heterotrophs inside them that I didn't know about this whole time. For further research, I would test out other supplemental materials and see if they would show a more significant difference than the eggshells. Also, I wrote this out before I found those worms, but I thought snails could be a cool experiment idea and see. I wanted to see how, you know, a living organism would do inside one of these. And finally, I thought that maybe next time I would do less plant because I really shoved a huge vine of pondweed into both, and I think it's going to fill up with sediment and it's going to die within a few weeks. I'm pretty sure of that. And finally, microcosms in context. Microcosms like this are a great tool for testing the viability of an ecosystem, like seeing how different pollutants affect them, as well as testing out solutions to pollutants and other problems occurring in an ecosystem. What's great about these is that they're small, cheap, and they can show needed results pretty quickly. So it's really great for figuring out management decisions. And that's all. Thank you for watching my presentation.